菜根谭
Tending the roots of wisdom.
201过俭则吝，过让则卑。
201. Excessive frugality leads to stinginess, and excessive humility leads to degradation.
菜根谭原文：俭，美德也，过则为谦吝，为鄙色，反伤雅道；让，易行也，过则为足恭，为趋谨，多出机心。
白话文注解：节俭是一种美好的品德，然而过分节俭就是吝啬小气，反而是有伤文雅的行为。谦让是一种高尚的品德，如果太过谦恭，就会变成卑躬屈膝，反常的委屈小心，多半暗藏机巧虚假的用心。
201-1. Frugality is a virtuous quality, but excessive frugality can lead to being miserly and stingy, which undermines refinement. Humility is a noble virtue, yet excessive humility can lead to excessive submissiveness, a strangely humble demeanor that often hides cunning and insincere intentions. Translated by Bayandefu.
201-2. Thrift is a fine virtue, but in excess it is stinginess, which is unbecoming to the elegant Tao. Deference is pleasing conduct, but in excess it is servility, which often rises with a manipulative intent. Translated by Robert Aitken Daniel W. Wyckoff. 201-3. Thrift is a fine quality, but if it is taken to extremes it becomes niggardliness and results in a flaw in one's otherwise sterling conduct. Modesty too is a splendid trait, but if it is taken to extremes it becomes cringing subservience, and one ends up being suspected by others of having a treacherous mind. Translated by Paul White.
201-4. Frugality is a virtuous quality, but excessive frugality can lead to stinginess, which is detrimental to refinement. Humility is a noble virtue, yet excessive humility may turn into excessive self-abasement, often concealing cunning and insincere intentions. Translated by Wen Lin.
202喜忧安危，勿介于心。
202. Do not let joy or sorrow, safety or danger disturb your inner peace.
菜根谭原文：无忧服役，无喜快心，无持久安，无淡出难。
白话文注解：不要为事情不如意而忧愁，不要为称心的事情而兴奋，不要由于长久的安定而产生依赖，不要由于一件事一开始有困难就畏缩不前。
202-1. Don't let unfavorable events bring you down. Don't get overly excited by things that please you. Don't become overly reliant on prolonged stability. And don't shrink back from challenges just because they start with difficulties. Translated by Bayandefu.
202-2. Don't worry when things go against you. Don't rejoice when your wishes are met. Don't count on stability to last long. Don't lose heart at early difficulties. Translated by Robert Aitken Daniel W. Wyckoff. 202-3. Do not fret when things do not go as you wish them to, do not rejoice when all is smooth sailing, do not expect stable times to last long, and be not dismayed when difficulties crop up at the beginning of your ventures. Translated by Paul White.
202-4. Do not worry about things not going well. Do not get overly excited about pleasing matters. Do not become dependent due to prolonged stability. And do not shrink back when faced with initial difficulties in a task. Translated by Wen Lin.
203名位声乐，不可贪图。
203. Fame, position, and reputation are pleasant, but one should not be greedy for them.
菜根谭原文：饮宴之乐多，不是个好人家；升华之习盛，不是个好世子；名位之念重，不是个好臣士。
白话文注解：经常宴饮作乐者，不是一个正派人家；喜好声名华服者，不是一个正派书生；看重名利权位者，不是一个好官吏。
203-1. Those who frequently indulge in feasting and revelry are not from upright families. Those who delight in fame and luxurious clothing are not genuine scholars. Those who prioritize fame, wealth, and positions are not virtuous officials. Translated by Bayandefu.
203-2. The family that drinks and feasts to excess cannot be counted as good neighbors. The person who is habituated to singing and dancing cannot be counted as a good citizen. The one who is preoccupied with name and standing cannot be counted as a good official. Translated by Robert Aitken and Daniel W. Wyckoff. 203-3. A family given to excessive carousing and banqueting is not a good family. A scholar who is too attracted to fame and vanity is not a good scholar. An official who puts too much store by exalted rank is not a good official. Translated by Paul White.
203-4. Frequent revelry and merrymaking are not the traits of an upright family. A fondness for fame and extravagant attire is not characteristic of an upright scholar. Valuing wealth, fame, and positions is not the mark of a good official. Translated by Wen Lin.
204. 乐极生悲，苦尽甘来。
204. Extreme joy begets sorrow. And after hardship comes comfort.
菜根谭原文：世人以心肯处为乐，却被乐心引在苦处；达是以心服处为乐，终为苦心换得乐来。
白话文注解：一般人都认为能顺遂心愿就是快乐，结果受着这一享乐的愿望牵引坠入痛苦中。通达的学者能将各种横逆不如意的折磨化作奋斗抗争之乐，最终因为这一苦心换来真快乐。
204-1. Most people believe that achieving their desires leads to happiness. But often they are ensnared in suffering by the pursuit of pleasure. Wise scholars can transform various setbacks and adversities into the joy of striving and battling, ultimately gaining genuine happiness through these efforts. Translated by Bayan Defu.
204-2. Worldly people tend to delight in things that go their way, but in their pursuit of pleasure they are drawn into suffering. Mature people take pleasure in sweeping away inclinations, so their tendency to suffer can eventually be pleasurable. Translated by Robert Aitken Daniel W. Wyckoff. 204-3. People generally regard the things that please them as pleasures. But a mind besotted with pleasure will in the end plunge into an abyss of misery. The enlightened man regards difficulties and setbacks as pleasures. Eventually bitterness changes into felicity. Translated by Paul White.
204-4. Most people believe that fulfilling desires brings happiness. But they end up being entangled in suffering by the pursuit of such pleasures. Enlightened scholars, on the other hand, can transform various adversities and unpleasant experiences into the joy of struggle and resistance. Ultimately, it is through this diligent effort that they attain genuine happiness. Translated by Wen Lin.
205. 过满则溢，过刚则折。
205. Overflowing leads to spillage. And excessive rigidity results in breakage.
菜根谭原文：居盈满者，如水之将溢未溢，切忌再加一滴；处危急者，如木之将折未折，切忌再加一诺。
白话文注解：处于丰盈圆满境地的人，像是装满的水将要溢出又尚未溢出之际，千万不能再添一滴；处在危险急迫环境中的人，就像快要折断尚未折断的树木，千万不能再施加一点压力。
205-1. People who are in a state of abundance and fulfillment are like a vessel filled with water that is on the brink of overflowing but has not yet done so. At that point, they must not add even a drop more. Similarly, individuals in precarious and urgent situations are like a tree that is almost about to break but hasn't done so yet. In such cases, they must refrain from applying any additional pressure. Translated by Bayan Defu.
205-2. The condition of one who is replete is like a vessel at the point of overflowing but not quite yet flowing over. One more drop would be dangerous. The state of one in imminent danger is like a tree at the point of falling but not yet quite fallen. One more push would be dangerous. Translated by Robert Aitken Daniel W. Wyckoff. 205-3. A man who has all that his heart desires is like a vessel full to the brim, a single drop more and the liquid will spill. A man in a crisis is like a piece of wood under extreme tension, another iota of pressure and it will snap. Translated by Paul White.
205-4. People in a state of abundance and fulfillment are like a vessel filled with water on the brink of overflowing. They must not add another drop. Those in a precarious and urgent situation are akin to a tree on the verge of breaking but not yet broken. They must not apply any additional pressure. Translated by Wen Lin.
206. 冷静观人，理智处事。
206. Observe people calmly and act rationally in handling affairs.
菜根谭原文：冷眼观人，冷耳听语，冷情当感，冷心思理。
白话文注解：要用冷静的眼光观察人，用冷静的耳朵听人讲话，用冷静的心情处理感情，用冷静的头脑去思考事理。
206-1. It is important to observe people with a calm perspective. Listen to conversations with a composed ear. Manage emotions with a tranquil demeanor. And contemplate matters with a cool and rational mind. Translated by Bayan Defu.
206-2. Regard others with cool eyes, listen to words with cool ears, confront feelings with cool emotions, reflect on principles with a cool mind. Translated by Robert Aitken Daniel W. Wyckoff. 206-3. With calm eyes gauge your fellow men, with calm ears listen to their words, with a calm heart deal with emotional matters, with a calm mind find the reason in things. Translated by Paul White.
206-4. Observe people with a calm gaze. Listen to them with a composed ear. Handle emotions with a tranquil mindset. And contemplate matters with a clear-headed approach. Translated by Wen Lin.
207. 量宽幅厚，气小路薄。
207. Generosity brings abundant blessings, while a small-minded mindset results in meager rewards.
菜根谭原文：人人心地宽舒，便福厚而庆长，事事成个宽舒气象；彼福念头破俗，便路薄而则短，事事得个破俗规模。
白话文注解：心地仁慈博爱的人，由于胸怀宽广舒坦，所能享受的福报多而且长久，事事都呈现出宽松舒展的气象。反之，心胸狭窄的人，由于眼光短浅，思维狭隘，所得到的利禄也是短暂而稀薄的，事事都落得紧迫急促的局面。
207-1. A person with a compassionate and loving heart, due to their broad and open-minded nature, can enjoy abundant and lasting blessings. Everything around them seems relaxed and expansive. On the contrary, someone with a narrow and closed mindset, due to their limited perspective, experiences fleeting and meager gains. Their situations often become hurried and tense. Translated by Bayan Defu.
207-2. Humane people are relaxed and expansive. Thus their ample and infectious happiness endures. Everything they do contributes to a relaxed and expansive atmosphere. Mean-spirited people are stressed and harried. Their allotment will be scanty and their blessings meager. Everything they do seems stressed and harried. Translated by Robert Aitken Daniel W. Wyckoff. 207-3. A man of accomplished humanity has a magnanimous and expansive heart. He is prosperous and eternally blessed, and everything he does is tinged with magnanimity and expansiveness. But a mean-spirited man lives a deprived life, because his vision is narrow, and everything he does is cramped and straitened. Translated by Paul White.
207-4. A person with a kind and benevolent heart, due to their broad and open-minded nature, enjoys abundant and lasting blessings, and everything appears in a relaxed and expansive manner. Conversely, a person with a narrow mind, limited vision, and shallow thinking, gains only brief and sparse benefits, and everything unfolds in a hurried and constrained manner. Translated by Wen Lin.
208. 恶不及救，善不及亲。
208. Do not immediately believe upon hearing about wrongdoing, and do not immediately become close upon hearing about goodness.
菜根谭原文：闻恶不可救恶，恐为谗夫泄怒；闻善不可急亲，恐引奸人近身。
白话文注解：听说某人的过错，不可马上就起厌弃之心，必须经过自己一番冷静的观察，这样就可以判断是否是近谗小人的诬陷泄愤。听说某人的善行，不要立刻相信就去亲近，必须经过自己一番冷静观察，以免引狼入室，堕入奸诈小人布下的陷阱。
208-1 When you hear about someone's mistakes, don't immediately harbor a feeling of disgust. Instead, observe calmly and judge whether it might be the result of malicious rumors from spiteful individuals. Similarly, when you hear about someone's good deeds, don't rush to believe and get close. Take the time to observe carefully to avoid unwittingly inviting trouble or falling into the traps set by deceitful individuals. Translated by Bayandefu.
208-2 Don't assume something bad if you hear something wicked about a person. Perhaps someone is venting slander. Don't seek intimacy too quickly if you hear something good about a person. Perhaps someone is posturing with self-interest. Translated by Robert Aitken Daniel W. Wyckoff. 208-3 When you hear that someone has done evil, do not rush to condemn him, for it may be that an enemy of his is merely slandering him. When you hear that someone has done good, do not rush to be close to him, for it may be a ruse used by a wicked man to lure you. Translated by Paul White.
208-4 Upon hearing about someone's wrongdoing, one should not immediately harbor feelings of aversion. Instead, a period of calm observation is necessary to discern whether it is a slanderous accusation or an expression of personal grievances. Similarly, upon hearing about someone's virtuous deeds, one should refrain from immediate trust and closeness. A thoughtful and calm observation is essential to avoid falling into the traps laid by deceitful individuals. Translated by Wen Lin.